Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. My Oxford Rail Dean Goods locomotive has never worked properly and I've had to live with that for the past 5 years or so, but today I am going to change that. And when I say I'm going to change that, I mean either the loco will be destroyed, so it'll never work again, let alone properly, or, more hopefully, I'm going to fix the loco so that it works as it should. I first reviewed this locomotive 5 years ago, and the first example of this I got was dead on arrival. It just jittered forward when I tried to test it, and so I sent it back to the retailer for a replacement. The replacement actually did work, I thought, rather well in the review. However, noticeably it was quite slow and there didn't seem to be much torque there. And then in the following weeks and months after that review, the loco's performance degraded even further. It would slow to a crawl sometimes, it would emit a bad burning smell, and it would have almost no torque for hauling rolling stock and such. And I've spoken to Oxford about this. In fact, the ex-marketing manager for Oxford, I think he was, I talked to him about it and he basically agreed with me that the motors in these locos were basically no good. And Oxford did do something about it. With the khaki Dean Goods that Oxford produced, they had a much better coreless motor inside and the performance of those locos was 10 times better. However, that doesn't help me with this Dean Goods. This one is still a lame dog, and yet it is such a beautiful locomotive, it seems such a pity to just let it be a bad runner forever. So today I'm going to do something about it. Now, quite a few videos ago I did some videos restoring the Hornby B12, whereby I removed the suspected faulty motor and replaced it with just a very cheap coreless motor. And yet the results were absolutely fantastic. In fact, a motor like this, which cost about £5 from eBay, was enough to restore that B12 locomotive to 100% good running order. And wouldn't it be nice if I could do the same thing to my Dean Goods locomotive? So what I've done is, I've taken my SketchUp motor mount that I made for the Hornby B12, I popped the body off my Oxford Dean Goods and measured up, and then I modified that adapter so that it would hopefully fit inside the Dean Goods locomotive. And that should allow me to fit a motor like this into the loco, which I'm hoping will sort it out. I've also had to design this adapter which will allow the shaft on the Dean Goods locomotive to be coupled up to the motor, which has a 1mm shaft as opposed to the 2mm shaft that the old motor has. But first things first, I need to do a test print. I need to try the new parts that I've designed, see if they actually print properly, and hopefully I'll be able to use that to restore my Dean Goods. Okay, let's give it a try. So of course I'm using my most gigantic 3D printer to produce this tiny little part, of course I am. But yeah, this is the Mingda Magician Max and it is really good and precise for this sort of thing. Okay, I think we're off. So this is going to take quite a long time to create. It's going to be about 40 minutes, which does seem quite excessive for a part like this, but I've got it printing very slowly and carefully for maximum precision. And I've also got it printing at a very fine layer height of 0.08mm, again for maximum quality. So while this part is being produced, I thought I would show you how my Dean Goods locomotive runs now, before I've made any modifications to it. So I'm hoping to use this as a before and after comparison to see what the difference is after the modifications. So here's the loco running now, that's 50% speed. Can you see why I've always been so frustrated by this thing now? And some people have said, you know, oh, it's just intended to be that slow. You know, the Dean Goods were slow in real life. It's just prototypical. Well, I don't think so, because it wasn't that slow when I first got it. This happened after a while, and the updated khaki version of the Dean Goods is just so much better and faster than this that I just don't think it can be right. So, yeah, I mean, just doesn't seem right somehow. So I'll wait for the new adapter to be finished and then we'll give it a go. Okay, the parts are finished and here is the new adapter, and yeah, it seems to be okay, I think. Yes, as it's supposed to be. Obviously the motor goes in there and then it screws down hopefully into the position where the old motor went. And you can tell I'm quite confident about this because I've already put the adapter, or the shaft adapter, whatever, onto the end of the motor. and glued it on. So if it doesn't work, I'll be a bit embarrassed, but hopefully it will. I do trust my calipers and their measurings, and I guess I can put the motor straight in there. So what I like to do when I fit a motor like this is just apply a small amount of blue tack inside the mount, which seems like a really horrible, shoddy bodge of an idea, but actually what it does is it dampens vibrations, so you don't get a lot of noise from the loco, and it also stops the motor turning around inside its bracket and causing stress on the wires and whatnot. So I just need to remember which way this goes in. It is this way. Oh yeah. I'll just push that home, make sure that blue tack's got it, and there we go. As you can see, shaft turns freely, it doesn't catch on the adapter or anything. It's quite a neat little thing, isn't it, that? So, time to bring in the Dean goods and introduce her to her new motor. Okay, Dean, your days of messing me about are over today. I don't care what happens, you're either going to be a dead engine or a working engine at the end of this. But either way, your days of running badly are over. Just get the body off then. Okay, let's pull the old chassis out and I'll show you what's going on inside. So, there's the little blighter that's been such a pain all these years. That is coming out. So it's just fixed in with 4 screws. It's a similar kind of, well, it's actually not. I was going to say it's a similar kind of mount to the one I've designed. No, that's a lie. It's not. The motor itself fits into the mount, and then it's held in by just 2 arches like this. Mine is a single piece which holds the motor in like a snap fit, as you saw. So yeah, a little bit different, but I just hope it will fit. This is going to be such an embarrassing video if it doesn't. In fact, it's pointless to say it, because if it doesn't work, you probably won't be seeing this. So yeah, foreshadowing. Okay. So there is the old brackets off. Let's pull that out. I'm not going to start desoldering it right now. I'll do that in a second. Here, oh, we can test this now then. So here is the little shaft adapter which connects up to the loco's drivetrain and such. And that is supposed to fit inside the new adapter that I've made. Oh yeah, so the motor can turn it around. As you can see, that's quite pleasing, isn't it? And I've learned from my B12 mistake, you can see it's quite loose in there. So there's not going to be loads of friction from it. So I'm feeling good about this, definitely feeling good. Okay, well, let's go all in then, shall we? So I'm going to, well, let's just see if this fits in place. Right. Did I get the, yeah, okay, so the screw holes seem to match up on the chassis and the new bracket, which is good. And I guess I should now put the adapter in place and try that again. Okay, so I think I'll have to engage this first. Yep. All right, so the 2 are coupled. Seems pretty good, right. So I'll do the wiring in a second. Obviously the motor contacts are over here now, so I'm going to have to extend the wires, but I won't do that on camera. I'm just going to screw this in, make sure it sort of sits properly. And then, I mean, that was very easy. That was really easy. I mean, the idea was to have no surgery involved, but this really was no surgery. I didn't literally just had to pull the old one out, put the new one in. And I guess that's the magic of 3D printing. Anyway, so there you have it. That's the final assembly. I mean, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? That really does look good, and it's turning really nice and freely as well. So all I've got to do now is resolder the wires to the new motor, and then we'll give it a try. So there you have it then, folks. That is the finished job, and it doesn't look too bad. Got a little bit of tape on there just to hold the wires in place. Hopefully that will be problem solved, but I literally have not tested this yet. I've saved that until we're on camera, so no pressure, Dean Goods. Let's see if you work now. Here we go. Yes. And I got the direction right as well. I don't quite know how. Oh yes, that's better. That's 50% speed. That seems to be a lot more sensible. All right, fantastic. And let's just see, out of interest, what the crawl is like. Let me see how we can do that. All right. So I can tell that that's crawling because the motor is spinning, but it's not clear that the loco is moving. I think this is the best crawl I've ever seen from any loco. Bit faster, you can see its wheels. I mean, that is just outstanding. It's really, really good. So much better than the original motor. So the crawl is outstanding, really nice and smooth. I wonder if there's a lot of torque there. Yeah, always curious to know what sort of torque these motors can put out. Plenty. It doesn't even slow down when I put my finger there. Right, so I guess the final test then is to get the body back on, see if that fits all right. And if that's true, then I'm going to be very, very satisfied. There we go, body on. Let's just make sure it still works. I've been faffing around a little bit with the wire management because obviously I don't want the wires catching on the new adapter that I've made and stopping it turning properly. But as you can see, yeah, it's fine. In terms of speed, I mean, you can't say it's too slow now. If you want it to go fast, it can, which is good. And I've tested this motor extensively in the B12, so I know it's going to run nice and cool, not overheat or anything. A lot of people say it seems a shame to lose the flywheels, and yes, that's a good point. The loco is lighter because of that, and it has lost its flywheel capability. Others have suggested, why don't you make an adapter so that you can refit the flywheels? And that's a good idea, but flywheels are tricky things. You know, you can't just bodge them onto a motor shaft because if they're not 100% centered, if they're not 100% balanced, then they cause 10 times more problems than they solve. So that's not something I've ever tried to do, but maybe I should look into it at some point. Anyway, let's get this running in, shall we? Here we go. Well, there you go, folks. And this is running at 50% speed. Look at the speed of it, it's so much more lively now. I can honestly say I have never seen this loco run as well as this, and that is with a £5 motor purchased at a consumer price and shipped to my door from China. So it just makes you wonder what kind of awful motor from the deepest pits of hell Oxford were fitting into these to start with, because it must have been pretty terrible to run as badly as it did. But after 5 years of frustration, at long last this thing is working nicely now, and thank goodness for that. So thank you very much for watching. I'll pop a download link to the new adapters in the description. This one's very, very easy to fit, so you shouldn't have any problems at all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy my Dean goods now, for the first time ever. Alright, cheers folks, take care.